The thoughts and views of this podcast and the sole views of the curators of this podcast is not the views of United States Postal Service.
How does he do it?
And we are back. Yes, sir. On the Route Podcast, episode 23.
My old route.
You know what I mean? And I guess we're going to be talking about mental health because it is important, especially in the post office with all the other jobs and functions that happen in the post office. Because mental health is something that people have ignored for decades. But now it's becoming a very trendy, I hate to say it that way, trendy topic because it is a serious thing. And, you know, it's a good thing that our government and our way of life and society is actually starting to pay attention to it. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much mental health actually happens a lot in the postal service because of the way the job is done and, you know, the responsibilities that everyone has and their different functions and how we're always predicated on time. You know what I mean? So we're always kind of under the pressure, under the gun, so to speak, to get things done efficiently and in a fast-paced manner. So before we even get going into that full speed, as always, let my brothers introduce themselves. To my right.
B. Morton, one thing fact about mental health, they say one thing you gotta get your mind right, that is a very, very true thing. Mental health is definitely an issue as we as black men in society I deal with, especially us in the post office. That's something we don't play with.
And this is Black. We back in here talking about something serious, something that affects probably just about everybody because there are different types of mental health issues that, you know, people go through no matter who you are, if your personal life or work life. It's a serious thing.
Yes, sir. This is Aaron. Welcome back. We figured September is Mental Health Month, Mental Health Awareness Month. So, yeah, we're here talking about it.
All right, so, you know, it's your engineer, Rick Sean, as always. Glad to talk about things like this on a serious note because I think this really helps people. You know what I mean? And we're also going to give out that hotline number to let people know in the post office where you can actually go to call if you have, you know, situations going on, you're feeling under pressure. So let's kick this thing off, fellas. You know what I mean? I think from the carrier perspective, since we're all carriers, from the carrier perspective first, like where do you think the seeds of stress and mental stress come from probably in our like profession?
Well, and a lot of times I don't think it stems from the job at first. I think a lot of it stems from your life outside of work, and work just amplifies it. Because just speaking from a carrier standpoint, when you come to work and depending on what station you at, depending on where you delivering, whether it's a suburb area, rural area, or hood area, would determine the volume of mail that you see, especially on like a Monday or after a holiday. So when you see that, you know, like, you know, we worked at Overbrook, you walk in and you see 15 trays of DPS and 5 tubs of flats and 2 tubs of packages that you got to put this together in the allotted, hour and a half and load up and be out on the street and be expected to do that in the same timely manner that you would do on a lighter day. So, yeah, that's extremely stressful.
Mental health. I could speak on what Black was saying as far as like stuff from home, but I think mental health, the stress comes from where you're a CCA, like where you first come into a predicament situation where you don't know what's going on, and you have the management telling you, well, look, this is what you gotta do to get the job, blase, you gotta keep it on, like, and then after a while, the pressure of mental health is the fact that, you gotta get out, you gotta make it to your probation, so you're basically constantly mentally stressing over how I'm gonna beat this probation, how many probation are, I can't do this. Or they do little dumb tactics where they say, oh, well, you ain't doing this, you gotta pick it up, or you out here too late, we need you done by a certain time. So it's like admiration and things build up. After a while, it's like, well, look, I'm carrying this weight at home and I'm carrying this here, and then like y'all gotta give me relief. Like regardless I'm a CCA or not, it's like y'all can't be telling me to do this in a timely fashion. And how am I supposed to take that back home? It's like it's pressure. And the thing is, you don't want to do anything as a CCA because you can't make any really moves for your 90 days because you like, all right, well look, money wise, I gotta save it. They don't like me or not, or the fact that like Black said, if you at a station where they don't like you and you not progressing, they can say, well look, we'll send you to another station. Like if you at our station, basically that's a leverage or a privilege basically at the station. But they can say, well, you're a CCA, I can send you to another station and this be 10 times worse. And like Black said, you come to CCA, you may do a route and you be like, all right, well I'm about to go home now. We need to go back out, help so and so. How you want me to go back out? And the fact that like I got mental health stuff like now, like this is mentally a burden. Like how much more can I take and observe? And like it's at CCA, they say, well, just keep pushing through. And I'm like, that's not the answer to anything. Like just keep pushing through. Like I need to talk to somebody. Like with me, I had a manager talk to we had on before. I told him, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do this, man. He like, just look, man, this is the tactic take. This is what you do here, and keep going because that shit brings, excuse me, that brings home to your folks. Cause like my wife, I used to have arguments. I'm like, yo, I can't do this job. They burning me out here. She's like, what do you want me to do? I'm going through the same situation you going through. I'm like, well, how am I supposed to keep this going? I'm like, they stressing me the hell out. Like I'm not going through the same thing you're going through because you're in the AOs and I'm in the city. Like the rules and regulations y'all got, I can't do that, and vice versa. So it's just a lot of things that they don't see in their tactical ways of saying to the people. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for everybody. You have to sit down more so, like Black said, one-on-one conversations. Like have somebody tell you, all right, look, this is what I did, or older characters basically. But sometimes like it feels like everybody's out for their self. Like, well, I can't tell young brother too much, man. Look, you better figure out your own. It ain't the same for me. And it's like that's not the answer. You have to give somebody a leeway of how to do it because situations happen. People go rogue, kill people, stab. Like you never know what's going on with somebody mentally at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. Pertaining to CCAs and how they deal with certain stuff in the job, like I think, in my opinion, one of the reasons why people have mental health issues in the post office because they probably feel like the post office is basically your life. Like you hear it all the time, you're doing the same thing, and you're working basically 6 days a week. You don't have no life outside the post office. Like so, I think that's a major factor in people having mental health issues here. And that along with, just making ends meet and stuff like that too in this economy. Like Rick talked about in the previous podcast, when he went to Europe and stuff, like their lifestyle is different, like the hours of work is different, and they prioritize family life and life outside of work, basically.
Yeah, I think all of you guys are actually right because I think it's a combination of just all those effects. Because you might have personal things going on at home, you know what I mean, like situations financially, emotionally, or whatever. And then it doesn't help that when you get to the job, especially as a new person, whether you're a city carrier assistant or rural carrier assistant or part-time, part-time flex, or you're a PSC, if you're on the clerk side of things, or you're like I forgot what the term is for the people that are custodians. You know what I mean? Like when you come into this job and you're not a full-time employee yet, yeah, they work you whatever hours they want to work you. Regardless of what's going on in your personal life, they just expect you to be there at the drop of a dime. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times that compound on top of whatever your personal things you have going on. Because a lot of people come to this job kind of behind the 8 ball because they're trying to get from behind that. Mm-hmm. So it's, you're making the money, but at the same time, you're not able to put your life together the way you want to right away. And that could be kind of stressful too. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes down to you trying to buy a new crib because you're trying to move out of somewhere where you were, or you're trying to get a new car because your car's run down, or your car is just completely finished and you're using public transportation and you're trying to get back to that point where you actually a little more comfortable. Or if you got kids, you know what I mean, and you're trying to get things situated for your children, like whether when school, and especially when it's like this time of year when it's school time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like we got to go do parent-teacher conferences and you got to get them set up. You got to get, school clothes, school supplies, because, the teachers send a syllabus home saying they need you to bring such and such to the school for the child to use. You know what I mean? So all these things are factors that, like I was saying, like Aaron said, like in Europe, they factor these things in. So they give you the time to take care of these things because it's important just as much as you having your job is important. Where here is like, you just got to figure it out. but we need you to work.
Or the situation with it is too, like the fact that, like, say you're a CCA, and the thing is, like I said before, you worked 30 days before, you said 30 days straight. Yeah. You call out a day at CCA, and it's like, well, why'd you call out? You know, we need you here. Like, bro, I had to have time for myself. This is not my lifestyle. Like, the job can't be what you wanted me to be. Like, I can't be here all the time. What it is, like, you can't do that to me. And the thing is, I need a mental break from this job. And the thing is, you call out. I'm like, what do you mean I'm calling out on you? I have to live. I need mental and physical healing, basically. My body can't take it, and my mind damn sure can't endure it. Like, y'all, this job is not something you come on and be like, all right, cool. You catch it right on, basically. This is something you got to gradually throw into, or you just somebody to catch something fast. It's not the easiest thing for us. Tactical things you do here for us, physical, basically, you're not mentally right out here. For us, the weather, people quit every day because mentally they break down. Like, then we had one girl, like I think one girl I saw before said, I can't do this. Like, she basically cried, said, I can't do this. I can't. Like, people just be out there and say, I'm done. Like, what happened? Like, I think we had the white boy at our station. Remember, he quit in the rain. He's like, I can't do this. What did he tell you, Blake? He said, I can't do it because the rain. The one white boy at our station, he had a CCA.
No, I think he just had a kid.
No, the other one, the new one that we had. Remember the one that just quit like the summertime?
Yeah, he gets you,
rain.
though. We get you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But he quit because of the rain, basically. He's like, I can't do it in the rain. I don't work in the rain. I'm like, that's just something mentally people can't do. Like, I can't do it. I can't stand the elements. Like, that's a mental thing. Like, you can't get over it. You're like, oh, just get over it. Can't somebody mentally just get over something? That don't work. This is not your father's post-up, like I said before. It's not your mother's post-up. You can't tell somebody, just get over it. No, it's not going to happen.
That's true. Well, you got to have the right people. Like,
I think the biggest problem with mental health in the post office is, like Brandon said, that mental and physical burnout. Once you get to that burnout stage, it's almost like, I can't do this job anymore. I don't know what they expect. I'm getting hit from all sides. And like my personal experience with any kind of, mental illness or anything like that, like, I know for myself, I have OCD. Like, I have to check the door 3-4 times. Like, when I lock my car, I hit the button 6 times. Like, and I look back to make sure the lights flicker. Like, it's just my mechanism. But and I also have anxiety, which is also a mental health issue. And dealing with stuff like that, and then coming to this job and doing this job. And I was excited when I first got to this job, even as a CCA, of course. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are, but you don't know exactly what you're getting into till, quote unquote, shit hits the fan. But, and that it'll happen quick, it ain't gonna take long. And like Brandon said, I worked my first 30 days, and I just assumed I wasn't getting the day off till my probation was over. I was literally prepared to work my whole 90 days. And, older carrier pulled me to the side and said, you get a day off, right? And I was like, yeah, I was never told that I actually do. In orientation, they don't tell you stuff like that. In orientation, they don't give you any insight of what you're going to do as far as the job, as far as mental, but they'll tell you you're going to deliver mail, and you're going to walk up steps, and you're going to lose weight, and then then you'll physically get used to it. But they don't tell you the mental aspect of the job and how it affects you mentally, but not mentally just you, but also your family. Because I had a lot of situations with women that I've dated, and they didn't believe that I was actually outside that late delivering mail.
But not to interrupt, but to your point when you was talking about how they talk about you physically, you're gonna lose weight and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's because they call us bodies. You'd be like, it'd be like, yeah, we just got another body, so we don't gotta give out overtime. But it's like, once you shift the thinking of us as actual people, then I guess the business gonna get better.
Yeah, and that's another problem that I have with. I don't feel that they care enough about us mentally, because I think certain steps should be taken if they actually did. Like, yeah, we have EAP, you have somebody you can contact and talk to, but you have to do that on your own. I think there should be mandatory sessions, because we've experienced it no matter what station we were at. The morale of the station would be at an all-time low. Stress would be at an all-time high. people be pissed off every day. Sooner or later, the cup's going to run over and somebody's going to explode. That's just how it is. We're in close proximity in that station, in the office, for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours every single morning. And if you're on the list 6 days a week, if you're not on the list 5 days a week, but that 1 or 2 days don't really make a difference because it still spills over, no matter if it spills over at home or if it spills over at work. Because not everybody has the mental capacity to compartmentalize. Everybody doesn't know how to do that. So, and the people that don't know how to do it, they usually boil over, or they go into what? Substance abuse until it boils over, or they, like some of the stories we hear people that do substance abuse and OD, and they in the post office, or something else happens to them and they quote unquote lose their mind. But this job, stresses you out to the point where I know people at this job that worked on a Monday and a day after the holiday and was cried after they were done because it was so bad and so hard and so stressful. And that day it could have been raining, it could have been extremely hot, it could have been extremely cold, it could have been snowing, and people would cry. They got people there where upper management talk to them like literal crap, and they and hurt their feelings on purpose, and people cry. They don't even care that they crying. They just hitting them with it. And there's no remorse. Nobody cares. They just doing it. I say it to all the time. I don't care how your day was, because you don't care how my day was. And if people don't care and don't have these conversations, it's never going to change. They need to change how EAP is used. It needs to be a mandatory session at least once a quarter where you talk to each employee at that said craft to talk to them about how that quarter went. Because if that happens, you can cut down on a lot of explosions at work and a lot of fights, a lot of arguments, a lot of back and forths, and a lot of things that might happen outside the job because you talked it out already. But because you don't have these sessions at least once a quarter, you got explosions at the job. You got people with a lot of substance abuse at work, showing up to work like that. And it's not safe. And they like to say, oh, we want you to go home the same way you came. We want you to be safe. You still got to take care of your families. But it's not safe if we're not mentally strong.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah,
like it's probably our responsibility to have our mental in check and stuff like that, but it's also the responsibility of the post office and management to create a safe working environment. So to do that, you got to be proactive in making sure your carriers and employees, management, and what's the craft, janitors alike, basically. Everybody in the station is cool mentally, basically. So you got to be proactive with that stuff. And like it could be mandatory, but you got to be like, oh yo, are you cool? Just having conversations, like have like a social worker or somebody. Basically,
yeah, like you have a shop steward in the station.
There you go.
And I agree with that. If they was to have somebody like that to visit the station on a regular and try to talk to the craft employees, like how was your day, how was your week, how was your month, how was your quarter, how was your year, anything. And I believe a lot of people would talk to them because you don't know what people are going through, because some people call out, they think they calling out just because they don't want to work. Management says that all the time. And I'll be standing right there and they be like, well, I just needed a mental health day. They could be stressed from the volume of work. They could be stressed from, the time restraints. They could be stressed because how management talking to them. They could be stressed because they're utility and they on a route and the regular don't never do the route right and the customer's always complaining. You don't know what the stress level comes from. But if you have that, that person that they could talk to on deck at the station, it makes a difference when you're able to let stress out rather than keep it in. Because that's what we're doing right now, everybody. Because there's incidents at the station, at every station all the time. We had, in the last podcast, we talked about a truck driver that stabbed a couple of his supervisors. Like, are you kidding me? That's not something that happens overnight. That's not something that happens in one argument. That's something that happens over time. That's a boil over.
But
So
let me ask you this: you don't think the fact of like, also the fact that we don't get paid enough too, and the fact that you working so many hours for overtime, you on the list, you burn yourself out mentally with that too, because you like, yo, I gotta maximize my money to the point where
absolutely,
I can't miss nothing. Like, because, like you said, say I'm a father too, basically, and my wife, she might not hold up the end of it, basically. I'm the breadwinner, basically. I gotta maximize my money to the point where I can accustom and live my lifestyle that I wanted to. And the fact that, like, yo, I gotta keep doing this and third, like, and y'all keep pushing the wrong workers. Y'all don't push the person that ain't doing nothing. Y'all pushing the people that's actually showing up for every day, here on time, doing certain things. Why would you want to push somebody to the brink of no return like that? Like, when do you want to be like uphold that character? Like, man, yo, you're a great character like that. You do the right thing. Blah blah blah. Like, I just seen on a Facebook page they gave somebody an award. I'm like, all right, this is not high school, but I guess you give somebody an award for not.
Show your appreciation.
Yeah, I'm saying, but the thing about it, like we're saying, is you gotta train people, bro. You gotta train people, and you gotta train other stuff for upper management. Like, you gotta train, you gotta talk to people. Like, we had that issue now. Like, people know how to sit down and have a conversation, like, because somebody feel like, oh, I'm intimidating or I'm interrogating. No, it's not like that. It's a conversation, like we said the other day. Like, we are human beings. We are adults here. You talk to me man to man, woman to woman, whatever it is. Like, don't bring your issue. Like you said, don't bring your issue from home to here, basically, because you want to feel like, oh, I'm poking my chest out. Like, that's not the place for it. Then y'all talking about, oh, it's oh, you can't bring stuff on the work floor. Like, you bring it. You can't sit there and tell me not to do something. You not even following up with your own lead. Like, that's practice what you preach. Like, that's the main thing, and I feel like that's the main issue here, where sometimes with management feel like, oh, they got the pressure of mental health, and it come from them too, upper management. I'm like Rick said, y'all need to stand up for yourself, basically. Like, y'all letting people talk to you like that. You a grown person, like, regardless of management, not like, you're not gonna sit and talk to me that way. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, and like, I had a job to do. I uphold my job. I do it a certain way, but don't talk to me like are you degrading me, or I'm like a child. Like, well, what happened here? Like, on those telecoms is crazy. Like, I'm like, it's no way, bro. It's no way. I'm like, then they bring it down to us. It's like, yo, this is not my fault. We don't have nothing to do with it. That's your situation. Like, you sign up for the job. That's what it's so big. But certain things and guidelines don't come with the job. But that's your fault. Like, that's like I said. It's just all it is, like a sliding board. Just come down. Shoot,
yeah, it's like the proverbial shit runs downhill, but who's at the bottom of the hill? Us. Carriers. Yep. So we gotta hold that. And it's not right. Something needs to be done. It needs to be a program, something, because if nobody's talking and nobody's trying to find an answer to this problem, it ain't gonna never go away. It's always gonna be there, because, like I said, the way EAP is being run, I don't like it. Because that's like a battered woman and people giving her information to talk to somebody and she never does. That's like, anybody giving out information to somebody getting emotionally abused or physically. Not a chance out of 10, they don't do anything. They're not going to call that number. Like, so I think EAP also needs to reach out. I think management also needs to tell that carrier that's calling out, tell that carrier that's always late, tell that carrier that's, look like they always frustrated, always drained, like they coming back off the street late, they leaving the office late. Like, maybe they need to talk to somebody. Maybe they don't need a PDI. Maybe they just need to relieve some stress real quick. Like,
and talk to the people that don't talk.
Yeah, that too. The people that's always quiet, that don't interact with nobody. Yeah, it's probably something wrong with them too.
They the ones that come through and do some things.
Yeah, because they quickly burn people out. Because we'll see there are CCAs that when they come into the job, they're not physically or mentally up to the task at first. So they, it don't look like they're going to make it, which some of them don't, but a lot of them do. But at that point in time, they seem like they're not making it, and you send a CCA to help them that is strong mentally and physically, and you're giving them extra work. So now eventually you're going to have two workers that's burnt out, two workers that's mentally strained and physically strained. And they, at the end of the day, it has to be relieved at some point in time. Some point in time it has to be relieved. Not everybody, like I said, can compartmentalize and break it down and handle it in sections. Not everybody knows how to do that. Most of us do. I could like to consider myself mentally strong. I like to, believe that I can actually do that, which a lot of times that I can. But there are times, and believe me, there are times where I'm ready to rage and I'm full on with it. And it's usually the job. Like, I know how to handle my home life. That's easy for me. But when you get to work, and as soon as you walk in and clock in, and the looks they give you, the stuff they say to you, they just slap stuff on you, and they just hitting you all day, just hitting you, and you can't hit back. You just hit, and it's like it's only so many times you can get hit before you're like, hey, you know what? Boom, I'm hitting back now. Like it's like you can't take that forever. So it something needs to be done. Like I said, EAP, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's a lot of things that they do great. I'm sure there's a lot of things that they do good. Like Rick said, we'll make sure everybody has the information for it. So just in case y'all want to call. But I'm speaking, my words is not just going to the people that's listening and the carriers and all the craft employees. I'm talking to EAP because some things need to be done. More needs to be done. What you're doing already is good, but you can do more. You can do more because people out here literally getting hurt. Like, we're getting beat up and roughed up for arrow keys. We getting cussed out by customers. We getting bit by dogs. We're getting, yelled at by supervisors and people hiring them. We getting into confrontation with other carriers and other craft employees. We went through a whole pandemic, and not one EAP employee came to our station to talk to us.
That's fast.
Not one. Yeah, they mentioned to us in the stand-up talk for 15 seconds. Yeah, and you can contact them if you feel a certain kind of way. How about show up? Show me you care about how we actually feel.
They don't want excuses. Oh, we understaffed. I'm like, that's a BS excuse. Like,
yeah, I'm not trying to hear that we understaffed. Nobody, because we're here, we're working, we getting our asses kicked the entire time.
Every day.
And don't tell me, we pay you. When I filled out that application, when I was in orientation and I was in the interview, ain't nothing in there said we was paying you for you to be stressed. Ain't nothing in there said we was paying you for your body to hurt, for your feet to hurt, for your shoulders to hurt. Ain't nothing there saying we was paying you to get sports injuries. Like, we're getting hurt mentally and physically, and it don't seem like anybody cares.
All they say you do is like a child, like a parent tell you just, walk it over. You're gonna be all right. Well, can you finish? He gonna finish the mail? Did he finish the mail? She finished the mail? That's the number one thing they care about, man. Yeah, it really bothers me because when you don't feel right mentally or physically, and you could be a carrier on the street, you could call back and say, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm not feeling well. I don't know what the problem, no matter if it's physical or mental. And they always say, well, I'm going to have to inform such and such because this is unacceptable. Dude, like, are you kidding me? It's unacceptable that my body hurts. It's unacceptable that I'm mentally drained and I've been here every day. Like, no, that's not right. I don't think that's right. And that's how supervisors get dealt with. That's how they get, things done to them by employees because this is on a continuous basis. Like, there's times I was at work and my knees were killing me. And I wanted to call back to the station so bad and say, I'm not sure if I could finish my route because my knees are killing me. You know what I did? I didn't even call back to the station. I just steadily took my time. And you know what happened? Mr. Artist, why were you on the street an extra half hour or extra 45 minutes? My knees were hurting. Well, why didn't you call back and let us know? Yeah,
it's like, what actually was you going to be able to do if I told you that, too? Like, 'cause none of y'all are doctors.
Well, not even that. The thing is, they're gonna say, "Well, let me see if I can send somebody out to you that can help you." And in fact, they like, it might be an hour later, like, where that person? But say, well, we couldn't do that because we got so and so behind. Like, so don't even ask the question. You already got the answer to. Like, it's like,
yeah, because it's like they don't give you like the openness to be able to call. Be like, yo, if you having this type of problem, then call and let us know what's going on. They don't never say that.
And another thing, I'm not trying to bash the post office or any employees. This is just my experiences and the stuff that I've went through myself personally. I really have a problem when management say we have an open door policy, and the second you go to talk to them, every single time they ain't got time or the door is closed. That really gets on my nerves, because that could be a situation where I'm trying to come to you because I'm literally having a problem, and then they'll say to you, "Aren't you supposed to be on the street?"
Yeah.
Huh? You said you have open door policy no matter when I have a problem. Aren't you supposed to be on the street? Why are you still in the office?
I think that's the procedure he's following. Like I said, they're not trained on it. I think that's just what they say for protocol, just to cover their behinds, basically. Like, no one is trained on to have a one-on-one conversation. They tell you, well, look, this is the guideline to say what the carrier says to you, basically. And you're like, all right, well, this is what it is. I covered the traits of a 1, 2, 3, 4 man. Like, what else do you want me to do? Because if you go detail with it, it'd be like, well, I don't know. I mean, well, can you go back out? Can you do this, or can you give me a little bit? That's what the first thing they tell you. It's like, what's the point of it? Like, you kind of contradicting yourself, basically.
I've seen carriers come off the street, CCAs mostly, and, you know, mind you, we clock in at 8:30, 8 hours is 5 o'clock, and beyond that is whatever overtime they assigned you. And I've seen carriers get a route in 4, and that's supposed to be what? 8:30, 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
And I've seen carriers come back at like 8:15, 8:20, and they'll be like, "Oh, can you do me this favor?" Huh? What? Such and such needs help. What? Dude, I literally completed my assignment, and you're trying to send me out because I'm 25 minutes or so early. You want to send me back out to help somebody else in the dark. Not to mention, I still have to travel to wherever this person is. Who knows how much this person even has left. And you want me to go help them. That's a problem. That's a problem. And because I've been to tons of stations. Now, I've only experienced this at one station. And believe it or not, it was at a bad station. It was King Sesson. Every day, the supervisor, no matter if it was whoever it was on at the time, they will call you to see, because they knew the people that were falling behind because they had the system, the computer in front of them to see, you know, how far you were on your route. I don't know if they can still do that now or not. A lot of people tell me they can't really tell what you were, you know, how the route was delivered until the next day. But this was back in 2018, and they would call you and be like, you know, where you at on your route, you know, if you falling behind, they'll try to send you some help, or, you know, they'll try to make something happen earlier in the day, rather than you coming back off the street and you 20 minutes early and they're trying to send you to go help somebody. Now, not every station does that. I haven't experienced that at Roxborough. I didn't experience that at Overbrook. So I don't, you know.
When I first got to my station, was somebody there that did that. He was a gentleman. He was a supervisor. He would call carriers and check on them, see how they doing and stuff like that. If he had overtime, just when I was on the overtime list, like when we had overtime, he would like put the mail in the truck and go deliver the overtime to you while you out on the street, just to try to make your job easier. It's like we need more people like that that'll do that.
I agree, because that shows that
mentality. Yeah,
somebody cares about you, and they know it takes more time to come back to the station to pick up the time, and when you're done your route, depending on where you end up at. So they're like, well, let me lighten this load a little bit. It may not be a lot, but I'm gonna do what I can do, and that's all we can ask. Do what you actually can do, not what you're, you know, quote unquote told to do, or whatever the minimum you're trying to do. Do what you actually can do. Like I said, EAP could do more, but they don't. And I really don't understand it, because mental health is serious, and you can't expect to get the optimal performance out of your employees, and they're not optimally set right mentally. So, because if you mentally break down, that's it. Body going along with it. So you need to make sure your employees are right mentally, so they can physically do the job effectively and properly. Because if you don't care about how they feel mentally, and what they going on inside their brains, don't be surprised when they explode. Don't say, "Oh, I never expected that. He doesn't seem like that kind of a person." Like, dude, this stuff builds over time. People don't just blow up. There are small explosions building up to the big one, always. So, like, our last podcast, when we was talking about the guy, when we watched the video that stabbed the supervisor, and they showed the guy's feet when they was interviewing him because they didn't want to show his face. What was he saying again?
He was like, "Oh yeah, this guy, man. I knew this was gonna happen eventually. He's always having conversations and problems with people.
Exactly.
So why didn't you get some help when it was going on?
Exactly. That stabbing could have been avoided.
Yep.
Because the way he was already treating people, so-called bullying and intimidating people, supervisors should have been aware enough to say, this is what's going on, have somebody talk to them, or even like I said, like Aaron said, if you had somebody, a counselor, somebody from EAP on deck,
just be proactive.
Yeah, you can avoid a lot of situations. That's why I said they can do more. I don't understand why they don't. And I don't want to hear when they say, well, we can't force people to do this or do that. Well, you make it mandatory for everything else. You change rules all the damn time to fit whatever agenda you want. You want explosions, you want people getting stabbed, hurt, shot, beat up. Like, no, nobody wants that.
It's like, although it doesn't pay, like, but in the long run, it benefits the company. Like, you're not directly getting money from this situation, but you're preventing a lot of stuff that will lose you money.
Yeah, yep.
So,
and you get situations where instead of the post office being painted in a negative light, is looking more positive. So it just needs a good overhaul.
I mean, honestly, I think, like, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, like, it's an unspoken thing, but you see it in everyday life, not just in the post office, just with this country, period. You know what I mean? You really fully realize it when you start to go to different places and you see how they move around and how they do things, and then you come back and you look, and you're like, yeah, like, it is I'm not even going to say like a every man for theyself mentality, but it's a every clique for theyself mentality. You know what I mean? Whether that be you and your group of friends, or you and your certain select family members, you know what I mean? You and your frat brothers or your sorority sisters, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like it's like everybody has like a little clique, and then it's just like they only act human with their clique. And then with everyone outside of that, it's just like F you and F that, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Cut through. You know what I mean? And as a society and as a country, we can't progress with everybody thinking that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to work. Like, especially when these other countries are now catching up to us, technology-wise, economically-wise, but they still have their foundation, which is their culture, which is their unity.
Community.
And their community, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, how we supposed to, like, we just saw it recently now. Like, you know, the USA team didn't even medal in basketball. Didn't medal in basketball. Like, you know what I mean? Like these other countries are catching up to us, not just in sports, but in everyday life. You know what I mean? Because they're taking the good things about what we've done in America and they're applying it to the good stuff they already had. Meanwhile, we're just in our own little bubble, just thinking the world revolves around us, and we're not paying attention to the values and things that we actually we can take advantage of, because we are a melting pot.
Tortoise in the hair.
Like, people come here all the time from different places, and they bring that integrity and that culture with them here, and they try to apply, you know, that method with the get-go method here to get up. You know what I mean? And it works. But never do we actually look and say, oh, that's why that guy works that way. That's why that woman works that way. That's why this is going this way. That's why that's happening. Like, you still have, like, it amazes me, right? Because I was talking to the brothers about this off pod. It amazes me, like, on a business tip, you'll have people that'll break their necks to get a crappy, like, record deal, right? But then they'll tell you they don't want to deal with the banking system or get a business loan from a bank, not realizing that the interest rate from a bank is better than any interest rate you'll get from a record company. You know what I mean? Like, a bank might give you a 9% APR or an 11% APR. A record label's probably giving you like a 40% APR. It's just not listed in the contract. But as they take everything from you after, all the sales and everything come back and you realize you only made a fraction of what you thought you were going to make, that's what that looks like. You got people aspiring to get stupid record deals instead of just walking into a bank as a business person themselves and creating their own situation. You know what I mean? Because we're just backwards. We're just upside down. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know if we're ever going to get it right, because the main thing in America is arrogance. Like, Americans are arrogant. Like, we are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, regardless of whatever race you are, whatever sex or orientation you claim, it's arrogance, yo. You know what I'm saying? You see it in the post office. Like, you have people who can barely do the craft job, but they go into management and they're arrogant. You're only in management because you were scared to do the craft job and you thought they were going to fire you and you were crying and you needed a bailout. And they need people anyway in management, so they say, all right, let's bring them over here. And then we'll teach you how to do the job the way we did it, instead of actually pointing you to the computer classes that we talked about previously that literally could tell you how to do the entire job from top to bottom. You just have to take the time and actually study and learn.
Want to do it.
Like, the arrogance you talk about, that lead to transgressions. It's like, all right, I see it's doing this, but it's cool. Like, the way it's going is fine, don't matter. But no, it actually do matter. Like, that shit gonna switch up and
boil over.
And all that stuff.
I mean, I said this like 7 years ago. I was talking to a young dude that was management, and I was telling him, I said, no disrespect to the older people in management, but it's like, stop listening to them in terms of how you're supposed to interact with people. Because they're telling you some stuff that they learned from when they first started, which is 20, 30 years ago. Like, that's not the same demographic of people that you're working with or that you're going to be working with the next 20 years. It's not going to work. You, like, the person that was born in 1960 might tolerate something that someone that was born in 2000 is not going to tolerate.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. You have to learn the job first, buy the book, and then use your own people's skills to deal with the people that you're going to be talking to.
Because it's a relationship, basically. That's all it is. The same thing we always say. The main thing to anything is relationships.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you get further in life. And then it's like, hey, look, they'll try to play the game of they don't want to promote you, they don't want to do that. But this is the post office. You're going to get whatever you're supposed to get if you just keep working. Because people are retiring. There's not enough people coming in to replace the people that are retiring. And if you're someone in the management field, that's open book. You know what I mean? Like, you can probably literally go from a level 17 to a level 21 in 3 years if you're in the right city, in the right place, because nobody wants to do the job. But if you know how to do the job by the book and you know how to talk to people, and like Black said, you actually know how to help people with their mental stay on point, you'll make it pretty far in this job, in this company.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Even from the shop steward side, if you stay on the craft side, you want to get into the union side, you know what I mean? Like, having people skills, knowing how to diffuse the situation, know how to appeal to your coworkers and to the people on the other side that might be causing the transgressions. That's how you can progress up the ladder and make a better situation for yourself and for the people around you. But you got to take the time and you got to care and want to do it. You know what I mean? Because just taking care of me, myself, and I, and the people in my circle is not going to keep you safe.
Nope.
Because you don't know what that carrier, like they said earlier, that's not talking or that's not saying that to nobody. He might have just had the last straw. Yep. Like, I'll tell you guys that's listening to us on the pod a quick story. Like my dad was shot, I think, he was shot in the head, I think it was 1979, I want to say. I think that happened. He's working security at I think it was at like a hospital building or a pharmaceutical company. And one of the guys he knew from the job, he thought the guy was cool. The guy was always talking to everybody, but he was dealing with stuff at home. You know what I mean? Situation happened with his wife that was falling apart, deteriorating. And him and the supervisor got into it that day. Real nasty argument. And the guy left. You know what I mean? Like, nobody thought anything of it like we kind of do nowadays. When somebody walk out the building, you don't think nothing of it because they had an argument with management and they walked out pissed off, whatever. And the guy came back later that night with a gun, shot the supervisor in the head. You know what I mean? Marched my dad and like 2 other employees down into the basement, and he tried to pretty much execute them execution style. You know what I mean? My dad was the last person he was about to shoot, and luckily for him, the police broke the door open up front, and it startled the guy. So as he looked up to fire the gun, his hand kind of moved. So he kind of hit my dad off off balance, kind of. And then my dad, and the guy pretty much ran out wherever he went, and he was apprehended. And my dad literally crawled himself from that spot on the floor, past the bodies, to the elevator, back upstairs to the actual security desk. And like the police and the ambulance, like they didn't even know how he was able to do that with a bullet in his head. You know what I mean? And it was like he didn't even do anything. He was just working, minding his business. You know what I mean? He's actually a people person. But you never know what another person is going through and how they react.
And this was before you was born.
Yeah.
So y'all can do the math on that one. Like that's.
You know what I mean? So like, and it explains, like my dad has a weird way that he talks. I never understood it as a kid until I actually heard the story. And I was like, oh, now I understand why he speaks the way he speaks. Because it's a fragment of that bullet, I think, is still in his head. You know what I mean? And it's like, people don't think about, like, you at work, you could be minding your business. Somebody might come in that joint and light it up.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Just because of somebody else.
Yeah, once they see red, everybody look the same.
Yeah, exactly. They don't care. You know what I mean? Some people aren't gonna have the guard of like, yo, fam, you might not want to come to work tomorrow, huh?
Oh no,
like they're not going to just tell you. Yeah, they're just gonna go in there because they don't care at that point. You know what I mean? And like we're seeing smaller and small situations happen within just our job with different people over the years snapping out.
Instantly.
You know what I mean? And like Black said, EAP has to take a forward step and just making this off a presence and letting them know like, hey, this ain't just the rhetoric protocol of don't call us, we won't call you. No, we'll pop up and see if everything's cool. Yep. Especially like if there's a mass amounts of call outs going on, or if there's a mass amounts of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's to me that was always a weird thing in management, how they say that you get promoted through discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like people in management in post office get promoted through their ability to do discipline. So instead of being a problem solver, you're someone who brings the hammer down.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know who you're bringing the hammer down on and how they're going to react. Because we don't have enough postal police officers to make sure that you get home safe.
Exactly.
Or to make sure you get to work safe.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had somebody completely unrelated get shot trying to get to work before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and it had nothing to do with the post office. It was just something in their personal life. But we don't have the capacity to protect everybody like they probably want to be protected. And people need to keep that in mind as they go day to day and they do their job and how they deal with people. Especially when you have a job like ours, when you're not always in the actual postal building. You're on the street dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're delivering mail in certain neighborhoods that are not the most safe.
Or even something where they robbed the thing on your block, on your route, basically. They robbed the
they robbed the ice cream spot on my block. You know what I mean? Like a bunch of young guys ran in there, stuck them up, took off, and then I think they hit the Wendy's up the street.
That's
like
crazy.
The next day. You know what I mean? And the crazy part about it is like, and if you don't live in the Philadelphia area, there's a situation with Philly right now where the crime rate is so crazy, the cops are using the discretion of what they're going to actually respond to.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen like on Facebook group pages that are created for certain districts where they're talking about like, oh, this guy is stealing, like in Roxborough, they know of a guy that's actively stealing packages. Like they actually know who the guy is. They have him on the Ring app, stealing packages, taking all types of stuff, and they've told the police multiple times, and he's been picked up multiple times, and they let him go the next day, and he's right back to it because they don't have the capacity to hold somebody for theft. If it's not like murder, they're not really about to really crack down on a person crazy. So what do you do? What do you do when you know somebody's robbing you every day, like, and you can't do anything about it in terms of calling law enforcement? Because it's not a level 1, I guess, situation or a code red situation.
Get your packages held at the post office.
You know what I mean? Like, this is where we are now in society, at least in that city.
Get a P.O. box.
You know what I mean? Like, so we got to start taking time to care about each other as citizens and as Americans. Because we can't expect the government to fix this. Like, we got to fix this as a community. Especially when it comes to our mental. Because the government doesn't really care. Let me be the first one to tell you. The government does not care. As long as you paying taxes and as long as they can hit that paycheck of yours every 2 weeks, and take out all these stuff they want to take out. You seen it, and you look at your stub. Half of that stuff you don't even use. It's going to somebody else. But as long as you still supplying the need for the country to run the way they wanted to run, that's all they care about.
And if the country expects to be excellent at anything, they got to be proactive with certain stuff. Like, even though it's not their responsibility and we shouldn't expect them to like help us with that, they really should, because if they want to live up to a standard of excellence, that's the stuff you got to do. You got to be proactive with certain stuff.
Absolutely.
Just start at the bottom with the people. So
I agree, because if they were as much hands-on and proactive as they were with taking taxes from us, with mental health, the world would be a whole, it would be much better, because, like I said before, if people are right mentally, the body follows.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel good, you move good. That's just how it works.
So, for all the post employees out there that listen to On the Route podcast, if you're going through like some type of mental situation or whatever you got going on, there's, online video counseling and stuff like that. But if you just want to call the hotline on a regular, you can always call, 1-800-EAP-4U, which is 1-800-327-4968. That's 1-800-327-4968. You know what I mean? And reach out to them and tell them what your actual problem is, and make them understand that it's serious. You know what I mean? That you're coming to them first. You're coming to them first, so you're giving them an opportunity to try to de-escalate whatever their pending situation is. Because it's important.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Make sure you let your shop steward know, or your union representation know what's going on with you if you're really having some problems and issues and you need some help.
Yeah.
Because lashing out is not the answer. You know what I'm saying? It's not. Because it doesn't just hurt that person that you're doing it to. It hurts yourself and it hurts your family too. On the Route podcast, we don't have to talk about these things, but we choose to because we actually care.
Yeah.
Because we go through them.
I want to say thanks to Black for bringing up the topic.
Oh, of course, yes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much
It's a
needed.
major one, right?
Yeah, it's a hard situation for me, mental health, because, like I said, I consider myself strong mentally at times. There are times where, I'll tell you one quick story real quick. When I first started the post office at CCA, and how they used to work me probably up until about 2 years, I knew Rick at the time. And I'm sure you seen a lot of my frustration when I used to come in and work at Overbrook, and how the manager used to literally constantly pick on me every day. Doesn't matter what it was. If I stepped left and she wanted me to step right, I was in the office. So it used to make me so mad to the point where I hated the post office. And when I say I hated it to the point where when I would watch a movie and I would see a mailbox, a LLV, or a 2-ton, I would get pissed. That's how mad I was. I was ready to quit the day I made regular. I didn't know I made regular. Manager didn't even tell me. My supervisor ended up telling me at the time. I was ready. When I came off the street, I was done. I was quitting. And before I can ask him for my papers to resign, he gave me a paper and said I was converted. I was stressed to the max. I was done. Like I said, it's only so many times you can get hit before you decide to hit back. And I was getting hit a lot. So, and at that time, I didn't even know about EAP. I didn't even know about EAP until I was converted and made regular. Believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Believe that. And another thing I believe EAP should talk about, or should talk to carriers that, because I know Rick, it happened to Rick twice, got bit by a dog twice, right?
Yep.
And ain't nobody, EAP, ain't nobody say nothing, did they?
Nah.
That should be a part of the paperwork. They should talk about what happened and how do you feel about what happened.
Now I had to spin the block on the dog. I had to ride up on him.
So, stuff like that. They need to be, like Aaron said, more proactive, more hands-on, because at some point in time, it's gonna boil over. Say a dog comes at Rick to bite him again, and he decides to stomp a mud hole in the dog, and all you see is his brains all over the sidewalk. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that to my dog. He wasn't gonna bite you." How do you know?
That person's probably next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm like
You
how do
should
you
have
know?
better control of your animal. That's how I feel about that situation.
Yeah. They know how
Indeed,
dogs
yes,
are
indeed.
around us. So, like, they'll look at him like, "Oh, you didn't have to do that." How do you know he didn't have to do that? He got bit by 2 dogs already, and he didn't want to get bit a third time.
Procedural caution.
Yeah. These conversations need to be had. They need to be had.
And for the record, I actually do like dogs. But if a dog is out of pocket, I'm gonna put you down. And I like people too. We'll stop there. But before we sign off,
That was for all your dogs, right?
before we sign off, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Let my brothers have the last words, of course.
It's be more than, man. Like I said, this is something we all as people need to do. Like I said, mental health. Like I said, like these 4 dudes outside my family. Like I can tell these dudes literally anything. Like yo, like it's a situation where it is like you need that. Like you need kind of a space where you like, all right, look, this is where you talk to and get things out. Like this, like I said, this why we do this. This is what we do. Like talk. Like this is my brothers right here. Like besides, like I said, my family. Like I can get things out and talk and elaborate and feel like all right, and I can feel like mentally all right, cool. I ain't gonna be judged or feel like a certain way. Like this is what we do.
And this is Black, and like I said, this is a hard situation for me, but like if like these guys that I pod with right here, believe it or not, is part of that strong part of keeping me sane. But like that story I told you when I was ready to quit, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for my other 2 brothers, Tone and Rob, oh man, I'd have been a different dude at the post office, because they listened to me complain in frustration and anger every day. And if it wasn't for them, it would have boiled over. So naturally, as a CCA, I had somebody to talk to, and you know, not just them. I talked to Rick, all the time when he was at Overbrook. If it wasn't for them guys, who knows?
Can I elaborate? I did have my wife too, but she tried to kick my mom. I did have my wife there too, so I ain't gonna. I ain't gonna leave it out because I'm just to make sure of that right now. We need to add that in right now. That's it.
That's true. That's true. She said, "I listen to all your stuff."
Yeah,
You better shout me out.
Yeah.
All right, this Aaron, everybody, and make sure y'all call that hotline number if you ever having problems. It's 800-327-4968. And on the route, we out.
And this is your engineer, Rick Sean, man, telling y'all I've been there, especially coming from my previous job to this job and the way they was treating us. It took a lot of maturity and to not do what I used to do. Why are you coughing, sir?
No, I'm calling my chest.
Okay.
I'm calling my chest. What you talking about?
COVID.
You know what I mean? So, I'm grateful that I have, people I can talk to that help me get to that next level mentally. You know what I mean? So I can still be out here walking the streets freely and being a valuable part of this society.
Hey, can I say something real quick, Rick? I'm sorry. All right, I'm gonna say this. Black and Brandon, they're gonna need to call EAP once we have another 2-on-2 game.
God, this guy.
It'll be like 11
This
and
was the
0.
last game we played.
Oh,
Wow.
Absolutely.
God.
Me and Rick be whooping them.
But
Right.
like we always say, man, you in the post office, man, be safe out there. And if you're a carrier, be safe on the route, man. We out.
It ain't never safe on the route.
No.
Facts.